Today on the Bar Business Podcast, we're going to talk through an activity that is really important, I think, for all owners at the end of the year. This is a 5-question year-end reflection that's going to allow you to assess the prior year honestly and then give you a good idea of not necessarily what to do with your bar next year, although that's part of what we're going to discover, but more about how to deal with yourself going into next year. We've talked a lot in the past about mindset, how owner mindset is so important. And if we want to make sure that we always have the right mindset, we need to make sure that every year at the end of the year, we're actually evaluating ourselves. So this is a self-evaluation program that we're going to walk you through today. Hello and welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. So today we're walking through a 5-point year-end reflection that assesses 2025 honestly, identifies gaps between vision and reality, and helps you set a foundation for 2026 growth aligned with what success actually looks like for you. Now, we're right before Christmas. So enjoy Christmas with your family, but maybe the afternoon of Christmas, if you're not doing anything, sit around, think through these 5 questions for yourself. Because this is a chance when we have time to reflect and to think. Plus, we've been around family a lot. We've had a lot of very good family experiences that are going to put us in a good mood and make us really focus on what's important. And so what we want to do is we want to take that momentum and bring that into our business. Now, we're just going to talk through this. There are 5 questions I want you to reflect on. The first one, am I building the business I actually want to own? Am I building the business I actually want to own? Now, that's a little bit of an odd question, but think about it. Because the vision versus reality gap, that is where burnout lives. That is where you will bury yourself. And if you're not following the vision that you wanted, if your life isn't what you wanted it to be, we need to figure out how to get you closer to what you envisioned and to make your reality work better for you. One of the really common things I see with bar owners is they're building for other people's expectations. You're building what you think a successful bar should look like. You're building from industry standards. You're not focusing on what you want. Now, I have said, and I will continue to say, in general, no one gives a shit what you like, right? You have to meet the market. But meeting the market with your product, with your service, with your decor and all that is different than having a business that's running you rather than you running your business. And that's what we're really talking about here. Is how you're working in the business, how you want to be? Is this the business you want to own? And hopefully for most of you, when you ask this question, there are some small gaps you notice. And so there are some minor adjustments in staffing, maybe some minor adjustments in how you train, maybe some minor adjustments in what you delegate. But it's a very, very important question. Now, again, if you said, I want to run a nightclub, but what you really have is a sports bar, well, okay, maybe you sell your sports bar and buy a nightclub. Maybe that becomes part of your 2026 plan. But also you have a sports bar. So realize you're not going to swap what type of bar you are, but you can look at how your business impacts you and then refine that business to give you the life that you've been looking for. The second question I want you to answer, what am I tolerating that I shouldn't? So do you have problem employees that you're scared to address? And this is the one that I see the most. Do you have problem employees that you are scared to address? Is this something you're tolerating that you shouldn't be? And if that's the case, come up with a plan to address it. If you worry about how to address it, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to help you on this. Now, the other thing, too, that we want to look for as far as things you're tolerating that you shouldn't, do you have bad systems that are creating friction, right? Are you just doing some things because that's the way we've always done them, but it's not actually a good way? Another thing I want you to look for, do you have customer behaviors that violate your boundaries? Are your customers behaving the way you'd like? Are you putting up with people who are assholes because they just spend a lot of money and they're good regulars? Maybe it's time to fire them. All this should come down to creating a 2026 non-negotiables list. Write down everything that you're tolerating, identify which ones that you do not want to do, and then figure out how to avoid doing those in the next year. Now, that brings us to our third question. Where am I the bottleneck in my own business? Now, this is potentially one of the hardest ones, but where am I the bottleneck in my own business? So we want to do an owner dependency analysis. And when I say owner dependency analysis, I just want to say, how dependent is your business on you? Most owners are really shocked when they find out that they are the biggest bottleneck in their business. Their inability to delegate is limiting growth and creating their own prison that they live in. Business cannot scale beyond your personal capacity as a bar owner when you do everything. So the big thing here we want to look for is, am I resistant to delegating? Can I delegate more? The other thing we want to look at is freedom versus control. Maintaining control gives you certainty. but it costs you freedom and growth, and delegating gives you freedom. So a lot of what we're asking here is, where can you delegate? But also, I want you to think through from just a mindset perspective. Do your employees have ideas that you're afraid to actually execute on? Do you see moves that you should make that you're not, where you are the bottleneck? And that's a really important analysis to make. Now, the next question I want you to ask yourself is, what would I do if I weren't afraid? What would I do if I weren't afraid? If I wasn't afraid of losing money, if I wasn't afraid of losing relationships, if I wasn't afraid of losing customers, if I wasn't afraid of losing employees, if you had no fear in you, what would you do? Because a lot of people in business, that we make fear-based decisions. I do sometimes too. Like, I'm just as guilty of this as everyone else. But we don't want to make fear-based decisions. We want to make opportunity-based decisions. Data-driven decisions meant to find opportunities and capitalize on them. But fear commonly holds us back as business owners, whether it's a bar or, a coaching and consulting business and a podcast like me. Fear holds business owners back. So what we need to do is we need to look at where we're being too risk adverse and do honest risk assessments and say, okay, can I get better here? Is there a risk here that I can mitigate that's going to help me out? Now, a lot of times our growth is held back by fear. Now, sometimes that's good, right? Sometimes we're fearful of where we are because we don't want to lose what we have. And that's quite frankly important. We don't want to lose what we have. But we can and should make sure that that's where we are. And now the fifth question I want you to ask yourself, what does success look like for me? And that doesn't necessarily mean revenue. That means, like, what does your life look like? And I want you to think about four dimensions when you think about what does success look like to me. Your lifestyle, time freedom, work-life balance, financial success, impact success on your culture and community, and freedom success in business autonomy. So what does success look like to me in four dimensions? Lifestyle success, impact success, financial success, and freedom success. And for most of us, you'll find you're doing really well on one, maybe two of those, but not all four. And the common misalignment we see is the definition and reality, right? It's you say you want freedom, but you built a business that requires you to work 70 hours a week. Well, that's not going to give you freedom ever. So we want to set our 2026 priorities based upon how we want to be successful. So that's all I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself these 5 questions, be real honest with yourself. And again, the 5 questions that you need to ask yourself this week are, am I building the business I actually want to own? What am I tolerating that I shouldn't? Where am I the bottleneck in my own business? What would I do if I were not afraid? And what does success actually look like to me? Answer those 5 questions, create a plan for 2026, and you will have the best year next year that you have ever had as a business owner. That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.